You're watching Morning at NTV.
Close some doors, not because of pride, incapacity or arrogance, but simply because they no longer lead you somewhere. Now that's a quote by a gentleman called Paulo Coelho. As you wake up this morning, I do hope you are determining to close certain doors that are not in any way fostering progress in your life. It could be certain habits, it could be certain relationships that you need to let go of so that you can move on as fast as you possibly can. Whatever you do though, do not let go of Morning at NTV. A very good morning to you. My name is Joel Senyonyi, coming to you live from the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop. Welcome to NTV's premiere show, Morning at NTV. Standing by are my colleagues Brian, Simon and Dakaba later for sports. An interesting lineup for you this morning. We want to get started with this question of the day. And that's our question of the day. Get to our social media platforms and let us know 7 Uganda matters that you do know about, and let's see how this goes. Now, Brian is standing by at the Serena Conference Center. I hope at some point he will tell us what he has been up to. Brian, what's making headlines this morning?
Well, Joel, it's definitely interesting to be back and joining the rest of the team. As you can see, I am definitely kicking and being, you know, as you enjoy your hot coffee, I'll also be getting a cup very soon. But it's an amazing experience to be back. I missed you guys. And yeah, I guess I've seen the banter and, for lack of a better word, annoying comments on social media, but it's good to be back. Welcome. And this morning, I have the stories that are making the headlines. And of course, I'll start with some of the headlines. And once again, the NRM party, of course, getting a couple of issues there. The rift continues to widen, especially among the youth. And the Vice President Bukenya slams NRM by releasing a book that will detail the good and bad experiences in the party. And a sad story of a police officer who claims to have not been paid for 4 years. Coming up this morning.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us wherever you're joining us from, whether online or on your telly at home. This is Morning at NTV. My name is Brian Mlondo with the stories that are making headlines this morning. Now, the NRM party, with its rift, continues to widen, with the faction now calling for the resignation of the Youth League chairman, Dennis Namara, for reportedly failing to run the party organ. The group stormed the NRM party headquarters in Kampala and elected their own leader in a move that top party officials have described illegal. Maurice Ocho reports as events unfolded when the president met the youth from Western Uganda in Barara.
Members of the NRM party youth have lately been embroiled in wrangles over the presidential candidate for the 2016 elections. One of the factions wants President Museveni to be the sole flag bearer, while the other supports Prime Minister Mamambabas. Now, a group of university students that calls itself the Uganda Patriotic Movement is blaming the NRM Youth League chairman for the divisions and wants him to resign.
This has caused a lot of divisions in the party, and it's on this note that we have seen the organ of the Youth League, led by Mr. Namara, so incompetent.
And even if we don't do anything, if we don't act, we shall not. NRM has no future.
These youth accuse their chairman of causing all the problems that have rocked the Youth League.
So we requested Mr. Namara to voluntarily put down his tools with the colleges as we voluntarily do private investigations.
We are tired of the infightings. We have a lot to do, and I stress we have a lot to do.
But the Youth League chairman Dennis Namara scoffed at the group's claims. The determined youngsters went ahead to elect their own leader, who they swore into office in a dramatic manner.
I swear that I will serve my party I will serve my party without any...
The minister without portfolio, Richard Tedwong, dismissed the entire exercise as a sham, arguing that the youth have no mandate to elect another youth chairman.
Our constitution is very clear. If you are not a member of the conference for the youth league or the national delegates conference, you are not qualified enough to be part of those who should remove anybody in the leadership.
Meanwhile, scores of youth from the central region yesterday met President Yoweri Museveni at State House in NTV and endorsed the sole candidacy resolution agreed by party leaders in Chankwanzi this year. President Museveni is meeting the youth from Western region today to reportedly build cohesion within the party. He is expected to meet another group from Eastern region tomorrow in Mbale. Maurice Ochol, NTV.
Well, a book by Professor Gilbert Bukenya details his good and bad experiences in the NRM as he continues his onslaught against the party to reveal the persecution he endured when he was vice president. In the book entitled In the Corridors of Power, Bukenya writes that the post of vice president has no value whatsoever. Our senior reporter Agnes Nandutu interviewed Bukenya at Parliament. Take a look.
The former Vice President, Professor Gilbert Bukenya, has continued his attack on the NRM party to which he belongs, bringing out some of the details in his new book entitled In the Corridors of Power. Bukenya writes that he tirelessly served the NRM party for many years, unaware of its dirty dealings.
I was one of those who was lifting the heavy luggage without knowing what is in the luggage. That's why I was campaigning in Ruel like that. Here, you guys, you are lifting a big luggage, and inside it, you don't know what people are talking about. You know, for me, I never knew there is a queue of leaders. It has never been discussed in the open.
According to Bukenya, he only learned that he was among the wrong people when he decided to contest for the post of the NRM Secretary General against President Yoweri Museveni's wishes.
And I think they were seeing me taking up the position, the central control position of the Secretary General, to be taken out by an outsider was abominable. And I've written all about it. You know, when I say in this NRM party, they are good children and they are bad children, I mean exactly that.
Professor Bukenya, who joined politics as Busiro North MP, was appointed by President Yoweri Museveni as Minister for the Presidency in 1996 before he became the Vice President. But the man who served as number 2 in the hierarchy for 9 years says the office adds no value to an individual.
Bukenya is Vice President, the flags are good blowing. When it comes to discussing the nitty-gritties, he's nowhere to be seen. And that's why I warn people, especially Ugandans, to be very, very careful about these statements. They tell you, hey, you know, you are this tribe, you have got this and this person. Those persons are just there as window dressing. I don't know whether the current Vice President Sekandi knows where they are cooking the meat for serving on dinner tonight.
Bukenya recalls writing and reading office memos, being sent to represent his boss at funerals and small functions until he decided to go out of his way to make an impact to the lives of the poor.
The Vice President must be impacting on communities. So that's why I diverted. And this diversion caused me problems. You know, the rice. People fought for the rice. They fought me. They really fought me on a very good project which has turned around Uganda.
From a humble background in Kachiri, Bukenya says that when he was appointed the vice president, he had big plans to turn the education sector around, deal with Uganda's ailing health care, identify and utilize the hidden skills of the country's youth, and reactivate the defunct cooperative societies, but he was greatly disappointed.
You can ask those who started with him. They changed nothing. Did you expect me to be a big bulldozer?
In spite of all this, Bukenya recognizes President Yoweri Museveni's contributions to the country since 1986. Some of the great things Bukenya will remember fondly about Museveni are his restoration of peace, boosting the country's economy, and allowing freedom of speech.
1994, 1995, 1996, he was one of those key golden leaders in Africa. So I'm not stupid not to understand all this. But what I'm saying, one does his best and then he moves on. In my language, we say the best dancer does not dance until he has collapsed. He dances, you dance, then you move, and then those who don't know how to dance, they also started dancing.
In his book, which will be launched next month, Bukenya walks down memory lane, recording how he rose to the rank of the vice president and how he was brought down. He describes it as a super book that will give insight into politics and educate the young generation on how to go about political affairs. Agnes Nandutu, NTV, Parliament.
Well, it's definitely interesting, those who dance and dance and dance and never leave the dance floor. I'm definitely eager to know what the Vice President, Edward Sekandi, thinks about his role. Now, moving on to a story that is seemingly very sad. The police's role is clearly spelled out: to protect life and property, preserve law and order, prevent crime, and to cooperate with the civilian authority and other security organs as established under the Constitution and with the population. Yet one police constable who has been performing this task religiously for several years has not been paid for the last 4 years. We met up with Yusuf Musinguzi, based in Isingiro district, who last received a paycheck in 2010.
Driven by a passion to serve the country, Yusuf Musinguzi joined the police force in 2007 after a grueling training at the Kabale Police Training School in Masindi district. But Musinguzi's resilience in the force is being tested 7 years down the road. The father of 4 says he last received a salary in January 2010.
My salary is not there. I check my account bank. There is no money.
In the 7 years of service, Musinguzi has been deployed in different areas, including Kampala. This mud house in Garama village in Isingiro district is where Musinguzi lives with his family. From his monthly pay of 290,000 shillings, Musinguzi's arrears stand at over 15 million shillings.
Amount for my salary now who going to pay me is the 15 million and 4,000 and 90,000.
He tells NTV that his efforts to get the matter resolved through the different offices have so far been fruitless. The Isingiro police constable is now appealing to the country's police chief, General Kale Kaihura, to intervene.
My home, my child is there, is going to school. The school headmaster and director is saying, I want the money for school fees, no school fees.
When we contacted the Rizi police spokesman, Ibn Senkumbi, he acknowledged the complaints by Musinguzi and said the matter is under investigation.
Because to us, it's dangerous. To us as administrators, it's dangerous for an officer to work, even for a year, or even a half a year without receiving salary, because how then does he survive? So it is subject to investigations.
Of course, the story of Yusuf Musinguzi's allegation comes in handy with the recent complaints from other police officers about the delay of their pay in January to March. Although these were finally paid this month, the pure remuneration and the delayed salaries for these police officers speaks volumes about their service to the nation. Now this morning, NTV's Solomon Serwanja analyzes the poor conditions that could very easily turn a very disciplined person in the force into an armed and dangerous one.
They swear to, among others, maintain law and order, to protect the lives and property of Ugandans, and to defend the territorial integrity of the country. They are the Joint Security Forces of Uganda, the Uganda Police Force, the Uganda People's Defense Forces, and the Uganda Prison Service. Closest to the public are the police officers who are often on the front line, especially when managing riots, calming demonstrations, or cracking down social evils in the community. Yet, their efforts and hard work does not correspond with their remuneration. Worse still, these law enforcers have been the victims of delayed salaries since the integrated payroll and management system responsible for cleaning up government payroll was established. Until recent, their salaries for 3 months, including that of January, February and March, were not paid. While their counterparts, the teachers, have a platform to raise their grievances on delayed salaries, including putting their chalk down, the men in uniform suffer in silence. But for how long can a well-trained and disciplined officer resist the temptation? Ask any security expert and they will tell you that a frustrated army officer is like a stray bullet.
We have seen situations where officers from different armed forces hiring out guns or being involved in acts that are contrary to what they're supposed to do, and it can be attributed to poor pay and delays in payment. If someone is not paid and he has a gun, first of all, he is a threat.
After a day under the scorching sun and a delayed salary at the end of the month, it is possible that a disgruntled officer will look elsewhere to survive, including going against the very law they are supposed to enforce.
It can cause someone to think of stealing. It can cause someone of getting corrupt. It's such a big issue for somebody to fight corruption, for somebody not to be take a bribe if they are poorly paid and if they're not paid on time.
This fact perhaps explains the statistics that have over the years ranked police as the most corrupt institution in Uganda by the different anti-corruption watchdog reports. Yet, to Enoch Makanga, a security expert, delayed payments and poor remuneration are not issues worth airing about for a national force which vowed to protect its citizens.
A policeman or an army man should never ever talk about delayed payment. At the end of the day, he's working for a nation. He's being paid by the nation. Yeah, the nation cannot deliberately refuse to pay this guy. Remember, the government depends on revenues. So when there's delayed payment, that means maybe something is not working somewhere. But at the end of the day, this guy will be paid.
While Makanga's arguments may be morally and legally right, other security quarters warn that if matters of police remuneration and delayed salaries are not handled, the future of police as a force lies in balance.
If their pay does not appreciate as time comes, definitely people will not, the citizens will not like to join those kind of institutions.
Amidst these arguments, one can almost agree with an old cliche that a hungry man is indeed an angry man. Solomon Serwanja, NTV.
Very fantastic comparison there, Solomon Serwanja, of how some of our police officers have definitely transitioned into the bad people that we complain about every day. And I guess government needs to fix this. Well, let us know your experience. Have you undergone this once very kind guy who was good to you and now all of a sudden turned a violent police officer? Share with us on our Facebook page, which is Morning at NTV, and let us know how we can answer this and more. Our Facebook page is Morning at NTV, and comment and let's contribute to the conversations therein. And like our page first before you go there. Our Twitter handle is also Morning at NTV, and of course you can go to the SMS platform, which is 6565. Now standing by at the NTV Serena Rooftop, and of course Simon Kasiate, who lambasted me a couple of days ago about my absence. But Simon, your very good friend, Professor Gilbert Bukenya, writing a book about his bad and good experiences in the NRM. What's your take on that?
Well, thank you very much, Brian, coming to us from the studios. Indeed, yes, welcome back from that spate of indisposition, and possibly you'll have an opportunity to share with our viewers exactly what it is that kept you away from the screens. But getting down to Professor Gilbert Bukenya's book, well, in a country where all newspapers on the day they come out on Monday, all the 5 newspapers in this country, major newspapers, do not circulate more than 100,000 copies to a population that is over millions of people who are not only able to afford newspapers but are able to read and write English language. Does Professor Gilbert Bukenya think that his book is going to be bought in more than 1,000 copies? I dare him. If he's lucky and it is bought off the shelves, the next moment we'll be seeing it, the pages being used to wrap little onions and little mandazis and little grasshoppers on the streets. That is the reading culture of Ugandans. If Professor Gilbert Bukenya intends on sharing his story, well, I would advise him to use the platform of his radio station in Wakiso. Perhaps there, more Ugandans will listen to his message as opposed to hiding it in a book. Like they always say, you want to hide something from Ugandans and even Africans for that matter. Put it in a book. I do not think that in the corridors of power is going to sell any substantial amount of copies. And even if it does, I don't think it's going to make any substantial stride for him in terms of propelling his political career. He had better use other, perhaps more politically astute means. But that said, let's get down to reviewing to you the press review this morning, looking at the Observer, the Red Pepper, and the Daily Monitor, simply because many of you do not buy yourselves these copies to read them for yourselves. And that's how much we read in this country. Thank you very much, and yes, a very good morning, a very sunny Wednesday morning, the 28th day of May 2014, and coming to you from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel, which is debilitatingly hot with the sun rays piercing right through our eyes. It's myself and Mr. Joel Sanyi. Good morning, Joel.
Good morning.
You seem to not believe my tongue-in-cheek laughter at my very good friend, Professor Gilbert
You've taken his jab at the band this morning.
I am one of those proponents of people writing down their experiences. I'm one of the proponents of people who, you know, I have my very good friend, Julius Muchunguzi, who works with the Commonwealth in London. He's launching a wonderful inspirational book this Friday. Yeah. This is something that he's worked on for some. This is one of the things I really liked about him, that he's able to share his story from grass to the grace that he currently enjoys. That is a story that people can go off the shelf and buy, simply because it's a story of telling of hope, telling of, you know, hoping against hope, really.
But I think we need to encourage generally.
Yeah, we encourage people to write.
Encourage Ugandans, not just to write, but to read.
Also, but you know, to write stories that actually move people from one way to another. But if you're going to sit down and start to write sour graping literature simply because you're fallen out of favor with whoever you are dealing with.
What's the problem with Bukenya's book? Is it that Ugandans, because you seem to have, you know, emphasized a great deal the issue of Ugandans not reading, or do you actually have a problem with the content?
Both.
Have you looked at the book anyway?
Yes, I have.
Have you?
Yes, I have looked at the book. I have not read the book.
Have you read it? There you go.
Listen,
So,
listen,
cut the man some slack.
You see, the thing is this. If I, Simon Kasiate, with 15 years experience in Ugandan media, I'm going to write a book, yeah? Hinging largely on lambasting my former employer.
But you've not read the book.
What I mean, lambasting my former employer, a TV station called WBS, where I cut my teeth, simply because I fell out of favor with them. That's assuming I did. Then people will have no reason to read that kind of book, as opposed to if I wrote a book saying that, look, I started journalism in this country at humble 19 years without any experience in journalism. I have learned on the job. I have won international awards, and I have managed to propel myself. That is a story people are more willing to read, as opposed to reading about how badly I was managed in another place where I no longer work. And that's what Bukenya's book seeks to do. That simply because he fell out of favor. If Bukenya was still serving in government, I doubt he would have written this kind of book with the kind of material that is in that book.
Interesting. Talking about falling out of badly managed, you did mention that. Now, His Excellency the President seems to say that the opposition rigged in Luwero. The President says
so
this is in the Daily Monitor. He says despite reporting to police and EC, the opposition was allowed to rig the recent by-election. I'm thinking, really? Interesting now that His Excellency the President, because the opposition has been running around, you know, drumming up support, saying, look, the way the Electoral Commission is set up, you know, it is a one-man show kind of thing. You know, we need to revisit it.
What's wrong with Ugandan politicians and across the political divide? When you lose, you always find.
So he seems to accept actually that his Electoral Commission is actually incompetent. They do not do a very good job. They are corrupt. So we need to do something about it.
Exactly. But you see, why can somebody ever lose graciously? I mean, I see here the Lord Mayor being quoted on the front page of the Daily Monitor saying Museveni is a bad loser. He should lose with humility and accept defeat gracefully. I dare Elias Lukwago, to use the same words he is prescribing for President Museveni the next time one of his cohorts or minions loses an election.
And I think it should cut across, you know,
exactly.
whether in government
when
or
the opposition loses,
lose.
whoa, government is rigging. When the opposition wins, then government says the opposition is rigging. For how long are we going to remain in this kind of seesaw of accusations? Can someone ever win on their merit? I think this... Anyway.
But look, again, I would like to dare His Excellency the President now, for a little joy to dare His Excellency the President, but I will anyway. If he says there was rigging, can we actually have these facts coming out, you know, so that if there's something he knows about that we do not know about, let it come out. Because, yes, Navo Kenya, my friend, did win, but if there were some irregularities, they should come out. Of course, Luero has had 3 elections now.
Well, let him go to court.
Let him go to court. You know, we should not stop at saying, look, there was rigging, there's corruption. And for me, I've always said, His Excellency the President talks about, I'm going to fight corruption and that kind of thing. We need to see the rubber hitting the road. Now, still on the Daily Monitor here, front page.
And this is something that we wanted to discuss before this Brian Murondo, who has been away, out of touch with the reality.
This morning, apparently, he was standing akimbo as he presented the news. I don't know why his posture changed a little bit.
He starts bringing to us, you know, stale issues of somebody writing a book. But we're looking at these trending pictures of these so-called NRM youth. I mean, if you look at the front page of the Daily Monitor, and I want our producer to put these pictures right across the screen. Look at these people here.
It is a nauseating picture. I looked at it and I was thinking, look at these young people. Look, for me,
no, wait a minute, Simba Wakatiao. Young people? Are you trying to re-describe the word young? Look at these characters here. There is nothing to show about them.
Some look as old as my father's age.
Let us assume that even they are young people. If these are the people they had always been telling us that are the youth who are the leaders of tomorrow, then woe unto Uganda. Woe unto Uganda. We have seen youth participating in politics. We saw the likes of Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda and Emmanuel Tumusiime Mutebere as young people being groomed by President Milton Obote, then when they were young people. These eventually grew to become central governor, whatever, and a serious political player like Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda. I doubt this bunch of people here is going to become anything in the future. Look at them. Look at their position. And then you are kneeling.
Sides to it.
Anyway, for me, would spend the entire press review looking at this otherwise nauseating picture.
Let me just bring 2 angles to this. One, when I look at this, I see a bunch of naive, confused, ridiculous fellas.
You are underrating them. These guys are not naive. They know what they are doing. All they are doing here is begging for money.
Some of them are naive.
This is disgusting. But instead of spending time to do some serious work, they're here begging for money. These guys here are seriously begging for money. You are begging for money if you're watching this. And for me, that's disgusting. You have got 2 arms. You're still energetic. You're in your youthful time. Instead of spending some time doing some useful work, you're busy propping this kind of patronage system, which will come to haunt you, your children, and your children's children. Remember, this country has a lot of time left for you. And if you continue doing like this, you're putting this country into doldrums. Honestly.
I'll tell you, of course we will hound the youth for doing things like this, but we have pushed the youth to the beggars that they have become. I think as a country, we need to concretely come out on this issue of youth. We keep talking about it, there's all these programs, Youth Livelihood Fund, I don't know what else. We need to concretely come out and ameliorate young people in this country. We need to set a foundation, not just for now, but for the generations to come. Otherwise we are going to continue seeing a lot more of this.
Government to give shoes to people who have no feet. Let these guys first grow feet, then we can give them shoes.
There you have it. Not too friendly Simon Kasiade towards the youth this morning. This picture is a very disturbing one. I think
there are other pictures that have been seen, trending all over the place. Them fighting at State House. They are bad, lumpen kind of behavior, and these are people they are calling youth leaders in a national party. I think it's high time the NRM starts rethinking the way they bring in membership into there. But of course, the quintessential picture of an African child is one that has got flies all over them with a protruding baby, in the Western world. Sure. Perhaps now we are now seeing the new face of youth in Uganda. But I think there is a glimmer of hope that when I move around the streets of Kampala, when I go to other places, I think I seem to see more polished young people, boys and girls, than this bunch of beggars I'm seeing in the State House today.
All right, opposition is happy with the order to dissolve NADS. His Excellency the President came out and said this program is not working. There has been a lot of siphoning of the funds. We need to bring it to a halt so that this money can go elsewhere. And the opposition is saying we have made this noise for far too long. So this comes in handy.
Well, we are about 5 or 6 days to the commemoration of Uganda Matters, and yes, pilgrims are coming in from across the region, some coming in from as far as neighboring Kenya, but those coming in from Uganda. The story is being captured here in the Daily Monitor. In fact, one fatality being reported by the Daily Monitor with a Lira pilgrim who died on their way somewhere along the Gulu-Kampala highway. That's a very sad story, but of course that's the taste of someone's faith. Someone will argue that this is perhaps, one of those things that saints are certainly made of.
There you have it now. The Justice and Constitutional Affairs Minister, Major General Kaindo Tafiro, says here on term limits, let us share and debate. If that is what the population wants, their wishes will be granted. I don't know if he speaks on behalf of the powers.
I said the other day here with you, I said, let him lead the debate. Let him not prescribe for someone else to lead what. He wants these youth, I'm seeing, begging to lead that debate. Well, Uganda and Kenyan police officers were involved in a shootout in the less than 1 acre rocky ground called Mijingo Island, floating somewhere on Lake Victoria.
Like somebody did call it.
So there we have it. So find out why these people really pulled guns on each other. Now,
question here by somebody. If Bukenya is no longer loyal to NRM, why does he not quit? Well, you've alluded to this for some time now. I hope this
what
is
is happening in the Observer this Wednesday morning, Joel? Now,
the Observer here, why NRM is losing Buganda. Now, the Observer reports here that ruling party has lost 5 out of 6 by-elections since 2011. It certainly isn't true. There has been, a couple of them that they have won, including Professor Gilbert Bukenya's. And I think that
even if you remove Professor Gilbert Bukenya's by-election, you still have Usuk here, you still have
the Nevandas constituency,
clearly,
and a few others. So, but well, they keep kind of Adam Brett here to the effect that there are a couple of issues that need to be raised. We did see the MP Simbwa coming out to, anecdote, if you like, some of the reasons why he thinks the NRM is losing it and they're going to continue dropping the ball. Now, university's final cut-off points are here in the Observer. You want to get yourself a copy of these, look at them and see what it is that you're going to study at the university so you come out and become relevant to this good country as opposed to this bunch of lousy young people that are kneeling all over the place and reducing themselves to beggars.
Well, if you think that the Daily Monitor is exaggerating that story of the beggars at State House, get a copy of the red paper this morning and read about the headline story, which is Chaos at State House, NRM boys. Well, there could even have been girls in there. Beat up Museveni aides over shillings 3.5 billion. So you can say money is playing a very huge role. These guys are not there simply because they support President Museveni or they are perpetuating the ideology that the government brings.
Because there is something they are going to benefit at the end of the day. Whenever they go to State House, I'm sure there's a transport refund and that kind of thing.
Beggars par excellence, just knows yet anyone here. Well, there are more interesting stories talking about, again, the youth issue is coming on. Bugisu youth divided ahead of Museveni's visit. They are divided not on anything else but money. It's all here playing out in the red paper.
There's a lot of money that's been going to, especially Eastern Uganda.
You see, for many of these years, we have castigated President Museveni for running a patronage system. And I think we've reached a point where we must accept that President Museveni is not about to change his modus operandi. For him, patronage seems to be part and parcel of his way of
looks like a dog, backs like
exactly.
One, walks like one.
But I think now we need to appeal to those who are recipients of his patronage to at least have some kind of self-restraint and say, look, I mean, we've seen people refusing cash handouts from their MPs to perpetuate the sole candidacy.
I used to see those. Where did you see those?
Well, I saw 1 or 2 pictures here and there, and they are a minority, but they are there.
Some of those
and I'm
do
saying,
it for showbiz.
Well, you can say, but can these youth at least also do it for showbiz? Here they are doing it for showbiz, clamoring for money. And for me, it's an indictment. Well, I'm glad I still have just 1 or 2 years to get out from the official bracket of being called youth. But clearly, I don't think this is the kind of group of people I want to subscribe to and feel happy about.
I'll tell you, we want to tell the young people to stop receiving this money, and I think that's the right thing to do. But for as long as 83% of this country's youth are unemployed, even the other 17% are underemployed,
then the majority of them are unemployable. When I look at this picture here, there is nobody I can think of even employing. Who?
Okay, let's tone it down a little bit. The Observer here seems to say that, look, to make marriage work, both parties must work.
Oh, that's quite very interesting.
Someone once told me that, you see, marriage is a very nice dream. No, that love is a very nice dream, but marriage is the alarm clock. So you eventually get
You've heard all these horror stories on that subject. Well, in the Daily Monitor, as always, every Wednesday, there is that wonderful pull-out called Seeds of Gold, which gives you an insight on how to make better use of the land on which you are seated. Can you make better use of your land so that you can reap seeds of gold rather than parading yourself in a State House and begging for simple handouts when you are sitting on bush-following acres of land bequeathed to you by your own parents, some of which you are even able to buy yourself? It is all here in the Daily Monitor. They're looking at irrigation schemes, breathing life into maize and rice farming. There's also an interesting feature on goat rearing. These are things that don't require a lot of capital. And of course, bamboo is the answer to poverty in Luwero Triangle.
Now, here in the Observer, in a manifesto implementation, they seem to tell us what they have done and what they have not done, spending quite a bit of money on this. Look, I've said it and I'll say it again. I think we as a government needs not to focus so much on telling people what they are doing. Just get out there and do these things. You know, people will see the good roads, they will see the good health centers, etc., etc. We need to concentrate a lot more on this. And little wonder, we are talking about 12 trillion shillings worth of unfulfilled pledges by His Excellency the President and his government.
Well, in the red paper this morning, they are flagging a headline story that, according to intelligence reports, Museveni is to knife 10 ministers. I'm seeing pictures here of 3 cabinet ministers. That is Professor Tarsis Kabwejere, Professor Ephraim Kamuntu, and the Minister of Finance, Maria Kiwanuka. I don't know whether they haven't captioned these pictures, so I don't know whether these are one of those that are all going to be knifed, or these are the survivors. But get yourself a copy of the red paper this morning.
For me, that comes as music to my ears, because we've had His Excellency the President time and again coming out to say my ministers are incompetent, they're not doing a good job. You know, many times he denigrates them at functions and that kind of thing. Your Excellency, you hire these people, so when we hear you're going to knife them for being incompetent, that is music to some of our ears.
Well, again, the red paper, as always, is giving it to you in black and white. UPDF names lads killed in Al-Shabaab raid. Now, for the first time here, we have names of those of our gallant sons and daughters who were failed by the Al-Shabaab during their African Union peacekeeping mission in war-torn Horn of African nation, Somalia.
Uganda, South Sudan signed customs memorandum of understanding. We've had, you know, debacles between us and South Sudan. Slowly but surely, I hope this is progress, you know, in fostering our relations with South Sudan, especially economically and otherwise. China-US currency war comes to Uganda now. Our traders, we are told, could soon trade in the renminbi. I hope I did pronounce that one right. That's the Chinese currency. You know, Chinese are literally everywhere, you know. 1.5 billion plus people on this planet Earth. You want to be a part of them in one way or another.
Well, that is what is making it in the newspapers this morning. Of the 3 newspapers that we have with us here at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel, the Observer, the Daily Monitor, and the Red Paper. Now, we know that on the international scene, a lot of happenings are going on in the West African nation of Nigeria. Now, we hear the Nigerian security authorities saying they know exactly where these guards from Kibok are. And of course, we also know the recent bombing that took place in that neighboring town of Jos. And yes, the Nigerian security is moving from bad to worse. But away from Nigeria, we also know that Egypt did go to the polls. And yes, Mr. Al-Sisi, former Field Marshal Al-Sisi, seems poised to become the next president. We also know that the European Union is now faced with an awakening call after Eurosceptics did vote in favor of breaking up what has stood as one of the biggest, you know, we say, blocks of unity. What else, Brian, do we have playing out on the international scene where you are standing?
Well, thank you so much, Simon. Of course, you have just alluded to the European Union story, and it's making headline in the BBC. And we'll have also some updates from CNN, Sky, and Reuters. But earlier, you made a reference to some of the NRM youth, and have been able to pull some pictures of the NRM youth kneeling. So the question, I guess, is how long are we going to see these people kneel for the president? Anita was the first, and of course, these guys are also kneeling again for the president. More youth here dancing and celebrating for, you know, finally reconciling with the president. And this was when he was addressing them yesterday in Barara. Well, interesting stuff here. And of course, Sarah Kajingo, who is a special presidential assistant for communications, tweeting those pictures. But away from all this, I want to quickly move on to a story that has made headlines. And this morning, if you watched especially CNN, I'm sure Piers Morgan should be in his living room laughing out loud, or even annoyed at how at one point he came out against the gun, you know, owning guns in the USA. And then a petition was passed around and was at one point threatened with being deported back to Britain. And now a student who went haywire, shot 6 people dead, went through a deli, and from there he went to a restaurant where he shot people all over the place and killed himself after that. And of course, this brings the issue of owning guns in the US. Who is supposed to own, and how could you be such a brilliant student as he was and also have these crazy psychological issues? And of course, doctors, we are looking at that and how you can be able to relate. Some of the victims here, and right now the state is mourning these victims, and thousands of people assembled in a stadium where they mourned their friends and their schoolmates. Very, very sad indeed. Now on to BBC. A story that is also making me smile, and of course the guys at the tech in Mackay University should also be relating to this. Google is to start building its own self-driving cars. Fantastic. Wow. I was very excited when I saw this story. The car will have a stop-go button, but no controls, steering wheel or pedals. And you can see this car here, trying to get a quick video here so that you see how it's going to be. And we're really excited about this vehicle. It's something that will allow us to really push the capabilities of self-driving technology and understand the limitations. Brilliant, brilliant, really brilliant. And a quick advert of how the car is going to help you, you know, overcome a couple of things. For some of us who have been scared of driving, well, Google has definitely provided the solution. And Simon earlier talked about the chaos in Nigeria and how the world first thought Nigeria was a safe place, and then we realized that it was actually not. Unfortunately, it had to take the abduction of more than 200 girls, and the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls became very popular across the whole world. Actually, one of the girls was flown to the US to go and talk to the legislators there about her experience and how she was laid in the middle of dead bodies after both her mother and brother were killed. And she started a new hashtag, Bring Back My Sisters. But now a focus on why Boko Haram remains undefeated. Exactly after Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan declared a state of emergency in northeastern Nigeria, it seems to have had little effect in curbing the Islamist insurgencies. And a graph showing the latest civilian deaths in Boko Haram attacks from September 2010 to April 2014. Very tragic. You know, I once tweeted on this show and asked people, okay, the US is helping us by sending hostage negotiators to Nigeria. What is the government of Nigeria doing to make sure that security is maintained? And of course, you can go to those sites and also read who are Boko Haram. It's a rebel group that was, you know, founded in 2002, initially focused on opposing Western education. And of course, Western education also aims at empowering girls to study. And of course, the abduction of these girls does not come as a surprise. So, yeah, they were declared a terrorist group in 2013. Now, I'd like to just a story that has also really touched me. Just here a couple of minutes ago. But it's about a lady, a Sudan woman on death row giving birth. Isn't that phenomenal? But here's the catch. The reason why she's on death row is because she went against her religious faith and she married a Christian. Sent to death row, and now she gave birth. Brilliant. I'm really excited about that. And of course, the Egypt election is run for an extra day. Yeah, more stories from Africa here on the BBC page. And some Sky Sports there talking transfer, which we'll be looking at later with Isma. But Cardiff confirm Macheda deal. Sanya tells Arsenal he's leaving. Toure admits to PSG appeal, and Lampard and Rio to Queen's Park Rangers. That move is likely not to happen. All right, and of course, more from TMZ, CNN, photo saved our daughter on Facebook. Someone yesterday was telling me an interesting story of a guy in Uganda who used Facebook to tell people, hey guys, I'm going to kill myself, and people thought, wow, don't scare us. And then all of a sudden he was found in a bathroom, and he couldn't, people couldn't believe it. But social media has good and bad, and in this case, Facebook helped a family recover their daughter. We'll be looking at these stories and more throughout the whole day. Remember, our Facebook page is Morning at NTV, and our Twitter handle is @Morning at NTV. Let's take a breather. When we come back, Simon will be here with the big story. Good morning.
Kampala has been voted in the past as one of the favorite cities for tourists, one of the most peaceful cities. That is something that is changing.
Kale Kaihura, the Inspector General of Police, and President Yoweri Museveni, their alliance, they can only crack down or stop individual strikes and individual demonstrations. But I don't think they can stop the growth of militancy.
No holds barred.
Besigye and Lukwago have particular grievances against the government, some legitimate, some misguided. What should the police do? Of course, the police has to intervene, A, to protect the power of President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM from disruption by Besigye and Lukwago, but B, also, never forget this, to protect those ordinary people whose property gets destroyed.
I want to ask that many think that they've actually been frustrated.
Opposition parties in Africa do not tend to be constructed around policy differences. FDC lacks a glue to hold its coalition of different power-hungry individuals together.
Incisive.
You see, the NRM is more divided internally than the FDC. The advantage with the NRM is it has political power.
Analytical.
I think that one of the best organized political parties in Uganda is the PPP, the People's Progressive Party with Dan Sali. This idea that everybody is telling around the world that Africans are poor and they cannot contribute to their own political and social emancipation is crap. In fact, I think that the opposition parties in Uganda have to win an election in an unfair and unleveled ground.
Newsnight with Andrew Mwenda.
A wife who you got through the office will be very insecure about you working in another place.
Always hunt up, don't hunt down.
You mean what? Go after your superior?
How dare you suggest that when a woman is aggressed against, we should look at the person who's been aggressed against?
Let the couple be. Let them sort out their issues. When they need you, then you come in.
Prostitution is being given a new brand.
All I know is that I connect people.
Let's not choose to open our zips and do whatever our urge is, because I don't think that an urge is stronger than your will to say no.
People attach a lot of questions, shame to HIV.
I do not believe that when you wear a short dress, you should be a rep.
Marrying a wife is like having assured sex.
Anytime you come, you must have.
Yes. You raise a population that has no clue how to be men.
Can you bring out a quality family?
I don't get married for my family.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV.
Hey there, Mr. Krabs! Are you ready to party?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it.
Wow! Hello, fellow motor enthusiastics.
Oh, Mr. Krabs!
Isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How'd he do that?
The Red Ranger's a bigger problem than I thought.
It's time to finish this thing up!
What can I do to make them love me again?
What are you drawing, Kitty?
Hello?
King Julian, you are truly inspiring.
Ow! Sponge pot! Fantastic!
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Molondo.
Indeed, thank you so much for staying with us this morning, and it's the hottest ticket in town, Morning at NTV. Feel free to let us know what you think on our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. Our Twitter handle is at Morning at NTV, and of course, our SMS line is 6565. A shout out to two border men I met yesterday, and they say they watched this show. Can you imagine? Herbert and Mantini, he calls himself Mantini, who operate at Spear Motors in Nakawa. Now, of course, on our Facebook page, we asked you, what do you think about the police officers not being unpaid? And a couple of your comments. Kamba H. Crispa saying, when the teachers laid down their tools, Museveni said they should go back and rear their gods. But should he give a deaf ear to the army like that man who is demanding since 2010, and with his policy of ruling Uganda as a police state, then he should expect a coup d'etat at any time. The army might turn against him. At Fintom Amoti saying, I don't think that the policeman can refuse to be corrupt. It's really bad for Uganda. Michelle Kamanzi saying that's why the guys are doing unbelievable things like holding innocent people. Government should pay them so we can avoid the harassment. That's just a sample of those comments, and of course I'll be back to sample those comments. Keep them coming. Our Twitter handle is at Morning at NTV, and let's deliberate on these issues. Very touching story of a police officer not being paid for 4 years. Wow, who is responsible? Speaking of responsibility, at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel is Simon Kasiate, who is responsible for the big story. Simon, who do we have this morning?
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Indeed, we are still milking the Luwero by-election cow until we see some drops of blood in the milk. Clearly, we want to break it down till the last bone does indeed break. And so this morning, we are privileged to have with us they call them Senkagare, not Sentebe, but Senkagare of the Democratic Party, which is the party where Honorable Nabukenya belongs to, the good lady that won the Luwero by-election. Chairman Mao is with us in the studio this morning to just thump and possibly gloat over this election, but also answer a few tough questions on a few things that I will be breaking down for you when we return from this bumper break. Well, the allegation is that Luwero residents and constituents pocketed millions of shillings from the ruling National Resistance Movement in, of course, with a view that they will exchange that for their vote. But when push came to shove and the sun set on the election day, the voting had gone the way that was clearly opposite from what the NRM expected, hence bringing to the fore the Honorable Nabukenya, a DP member, to the fore as their woman representative. And so this morning we have Chairman Mao. I prefer to call you by that description, but yes, he's the president of the Democratic Party, Honorable Norbert Mao. Good morning and welcome to the big story. You're looking fresh and without a doubt, of course, much happier and a little older as well, because I can see some good strands of gray hair, but I like the mix of looking younger and happier as well as older and wiser.
Let's say mature.
We always find the right words for the right situations.
Let's say mature.
Welcome back from Luwero.
Thank you, Simon. I'm happy to be on the roof of NTV. I hope the owners of the place don't throw us out. Okay, the roof of NTV, I'm delighted. It's always a joy to be here.
Tell us, you just came back from a resounding victory in Luwero. For a party like Democratic Party, which has for the most part been bedeviled by internal squabbles and some people saying there is DP Mao and then there is DP the other one, what does this win mean for the unity and robustness, is that the right word to use, where we can use usual language, to what, how much does this win lend credence to your slogan of DP Egumire?
The victory in Luwero is an endorsement of the need for a generational change in leadership. The Luwero residents were not seeing the NRM candidate as the protagonist. They were not seeing Nalwanga. They were seeing Yoweri Museveni. And the young people who are the majority look at Yoweri Museveni and they say, this guy was around when Ronald Reagan was president of America, when Margaret Thatcher was prime minister of Britain. And then they say, what is he still doing here?
Yeah, but we have Queen Elizabeth, who has been around since...
Simon, you could even say God is still God, if you want to argue that way. But we are talking about democratic institutions. So to me, this was a message that the young Ugandans really want generational change in leadership. Secondly, it is also an endorsement of message over slogans. I think the NRM has been making so many slogans, they even believe in them these days. For instance, they go and say, Bonaba Gagawale. They are Chole people, because they don't speak Luganda, they have now corrupted it and they call it Giniugale, which means the thing has delayed. So those slogans are not selling anymore. So Luwero residents wanted to get someone who would come and be like a live conductor, not an insulator. They saw Rebecca Nalwanga as someone who would insulate Museveni from the direct current of their grievances. They needed someone who would be a live wire to give President Museveni
a shock,
a proper shock, high voltage, with enough volts, with
at no high frequency.
Yeah, with no circuit breaker. So
you're sounding like my engineers down at Naroba the Dam, where you normally work.
That's why I'm using ESCOM language. I'm using power generation language.
Absolutely.
So I think this exactly is going to be the trend. Live conductors versus insulators.
So are you saying that anything else other than Nabu Kenya, as long as it was not Nalwanga or NRM, would have carried the day in Luwero?
No, Simon. It helps to have a good candidate. Brenda is a captivating speaker in her own right. She is charismatic. I saw her grow up politically as a guild president of Chambogo, and then she became
an active member of UID.
A key figure of UID.
She arranges a birthday party for the president.
She went to Dar es Salaam and did some research about the president's age, and then came back and said, I am going to deliver a cake to State House. There's no way, if his family does not care about this important milestone of reaching 75 years, I am going to do it myself.
I will ask her when she shows up on this very podium one of these days. But let's get down to, again, DP as an institution. Many people are saying that it was the concerted effort of different opposition players from different political parties and different political ideologies, including and not limited to a one Eastwell Gilbert Bukenya, who shows up from the NRM, and then of course at the last rally also, you know, makes this kind of sweep. In other words, we see the move to think that the DP did not play a sole role, or perhaps even the little that you played was not as vital as what was played by the concerted effort of other groups. Is that a truth?
I think those who want to console themselves that DP is a weak party can say that and believe it. I really don't mind. But people need to know that the Democratic Party is a proper political party. It's 60 years old. It was not formed to fight Museveni. I mean, in 1954, where was Museveni? So DP has a sound ideological base. It has a sound social base. It's part of the social contours of Uganda. And Luwero, in the 80s, was a DP constituency proper. And many of the skulls that President Museveni always talks about as part of the sacrifice of the resistance in the Luwero Triangle, the majority are actually DP.
Well, so now here we're having it, everybody claiming a piece of those skulls.
We are not just claiming a piece.
These were our sympathizers. These were our soldiers.
We were the target. So DP is a strong party, only that for whatever reason, people always seem to magnify the problems in DP. You talked about divisions in parties. Is there any party which is not facing factionalism? But when it is DP, somehow
maybe
it is
the Conservative Party, which is a one-man party. So
no, there's a conflict there also. There is a conflict.
How they manage a conflict within one man?
There's a conflict in the Conservative Party. In the NRM, you are talking.
Don't even mention that one.
Malfaction.
We'll be here till the
cows come back home. So I want to say that unity played an important factor because a united opposition front, as opposed to the usual fragmentation, energized the people. The presence of Gilbert Bukenya, former vice president, also emboldened those NRMs who were on the fence. So Bukenya shook the NRM fence, and many of them chose to fall on Bukenya's side.
Nabukenya's side.
I mean, on Brenda Nabukenya's side. And then our united opposition front. And you know, politicians are calculative. They are now looking at where they will be in 2016. So our united front plus Gilbert Bukenya's strong show of support sort of paralyzed the key NRM people.
President Museveni is writing a letter about electoral rigging in Uganda 1961 to 2014, and he clearly says that what you are now calling the united opposition assault was indeed geared at not only canvassing votes for Nabukenya, but rigging this election, that you, Norbert Mao, and your other friends rigged this election in Luweero. How so?
I'm a lawyer, Simon. I believe in evidence. President Yoweri Museveni, and of course this is just... this
is a letter. See how many pages?
Like 14.
12.
12.
But the 12th one is blank.
11. These are not arguments. The president is just fuming. And I think there should be a difference between arguing and fuming.
So are you saying you're not going to respond to these allegations that you rigged the election?
I am going to respond very briefly. He says that the opposition is ideologically bankrupt. That is false. A party that can stay alive for 60 years in very difficult circumstances definitely has some glue to keep its members together. On the contrary, his party is the one which is like, you know, a parasite on the state, a scaffolding. I don't think the NRM can exist if it is not in power. The president also says the opposition used propaganda. Now, I think propaganda...
Isn't it the way that political contestations are based on? Isn't propaganda
and he has no proof. So the president has now become...
No, but even if he had the proof, isn't propaganda the engine that drives political contestation?
There is the propaganda which is
false.
Which is false. Then there is the propaganda which you call a whispering campaign. If I go around saying Simon Kasiate is a night dancer, don't look at how smart and suave he is. But at night, he has a tail. So you must find a way of countering it.
Clearly state that that is just a far-fetched example. Some people will believe you.
This was a joke. Simon Kasiate is a Christian in good standing.
Thank you very much.
So President Museveni has now become a rumor monger in this letter of his. He says someone told him that we went around saying NRM voters should not walk to the polling stations. They should wait for transport from NRM. Now, we are not the ones who always promise transport. It is the NRM people who promise transport.
This time around, it didn't come.
But we didn't do that. The president also says we intimidated NRM voters. The truth of the matter, to intimidate, you must have capacity. You know, it is like saying a rabbit has intimidated a leopard. that would be a very silly leopard. The NRM has the coercive machine. We are the ones who are being tear gassed. Our people were being arrested left, right, and center. I was attacked by water cannon alongside the Lord Mayor.
Yeah, you given some good washing.
So,
but Chairman Mao,
the president's allegations are unfounded. They are just the rantings of a sore loser.
I wish you could also use the same prescription for many of your colleagues in the opposition, especially when they lose, because I hear the same kind of bitterness coming from them whenever the opposition
We actually go to court. If the president wants some reading tonight for his evening, let him read the Kizza Besigye versus Attorney General case, 2006 elections, and then he will see. But I'm glad that the president now has realized this. You know, if you never fall sick, when you are told the hospitals are terrible, you really don't mind until you go there.
Or fall sick.
And then you find that you have a problem in the hospital when you need attention.
So now, together with the president, now you the Luero situation and ask you about these activities you've been carrying around together with some civil society organizations and civically aware people. You've been going around the country, you know, telling Ugandans the need for electoral reforms. Some of these electoral reforms will require legislative impetus. How much are you doing to ensure that legislative impetus here at Parliament does take effect? Because you may go around the country, tell people about the need for electoral reforms, but as long as legislative impetus is not there, then clearly this is zero-sum effect of your efforts.
Simon, legislation in Uganda today is about numbers. As the Kenyans say, we are dealing with the tyranny of numbers. The Parliament does not operate anymore as a deliberative forum where you come and state your views, I weigh its merit and accept those that are convincing. Parliament now is like a stage where something that has been choreographed in an NRM caucus is merely and ritualistically staged for rubber stamping.
So I think they should move the chamber to National Theatre after all.
That's actually a step back in our democracy, because if I cannot accept that I can learn something from you, then there's no way we can debate. So that means we must do two things. We must create a groundswell in favor of the free and fair elections campaign. Secondly, we must reach out to one another. This letter is not a good start for President Museveni. I think there's something in diplomacy they call parity of esteem.
Without a doubt.
If I'm ever going to talk to you, I must have some sense that you are an esteemed person, even if it is a very small percentage. So we should find some intersection. Right now, it seems the opposition and the NRM are disjoint sets. So that's why Parliament is not the primary forum for dealing with the issues of electoral reform. The primary forum is among the people who should claim their sovereignty, which is an argument the president makes. He says rigging, intimidation, negative propaganda, sectarianism disenfranchises people. Now, to re-enfranchise Ugandans, we need the people to feel that their votes count. And that cannot be done just in Parliament. We have got to do it by reaching out to one another. This to me, is a sign that we still have a problem in consensus building.
Chairman Mao, as we conclude this discussion this morning, just briefly tell me what is in the cooking pot of the Democratic Party 2 years ahead of the next general election?
I was handed over 7 members of Parliament. Now we have 15 members of Parliament.
Oh, tremendous.
I think that's an achievement. We have 1 local council seat. We have 4 in Acholi, including an urban division in Gulu municipality. We have got seats in Kibale. We have gone to all parts of Uganda, giving our message. Namely, ends and means must go together. For some parties, the end justifies the means. Now, that's not the DP. We are trying to talk about change without bloodshed. I want President Museveni to be the last person walking in a pool of blood to go to State House. So, we are trying
but when
to...
President Museveni is long gone and say the DP is in State House, what is it that you're telling Ugandans you will do when you're in there?
We will make sure we have institutions that work.
How will you ensure these institutions are working? I think that's what, because you see,
to start with,
that's a well-sounding message, which even I, pedestrian as I am, Simon, can say. If I were in State House, I would ensure that institutions are working. But the million-dollar question and the test to my astuteness would be how? And that's what I put to you this morning.
As Norbert Mao, the power of my example has been strong enough to inspire so many people. I went to Gulu, that's why you call me Chairman Mao. Didn't my chairmanship make a difference? It did. I'm promising that I'll use the power of my personal example and the institutional foundations of the Democratic Party and its social ideas on equality and the things that we have been fighting for, truth and justice, to make sure that we have a government which serves everybody without discrimination. And to do that, I'm right now struggling to make sure the party is united. We are talking to other opposition parties and others even in the NRM so that we can have a shot at democracy again, because I think we have lost our path.
A very final one. Do we see the same kind of unity that you exhibited in Luwero come into play at 2016 presidential level? Do we see the opposition? Are you mooting the idea of fronting a unified single candidate?
That is on the table. We are under a lot of pressure from the people who say, don't come to us again if you are fragmented. And we must show that we listen also. So we are doing our best. It's difficult, Simon, as you know.
I know, perfectly.
Some of the characters in the opposition are like, you know, porcupines. You can't hug them. They prick you. Others would call me a porcupine too. But the truth is we must find some common ground. So I want to promise Ugandans that
where the porcupines turn into bears so that you can have bear hugs.
Bear hug. Well, I know that Mao will work for unity of the forces of change.
Even if you are not the one leading or being fronted as the sole candidate.
That's a false idea, Simon. Most people say, no, but Mao will never support any united front unless he leads it.
He leads it, exactly.
Of course, maybe my outrageous self-confidence threatens some people. But I like to be well led. But I want to state that whoever is elected, whether they are party leaders or not, I will be a very faithful follower and a strong supporter of the united forces for change.
Chairman Mao has said it himself here and dispelled all rumor that he intends to be the sole candidate of the opposition. Anything short of that, he will not support a united front.
I'll not allow anyone to kneel in front of me and declare me the uncontested
leader. Well, here we have him, and yes, let's take a short break, only to return with Simon Says. Time is not a luxury that we have to enjoy this morning. We did start late and we are ending pretty late. And so my Simon Says this morning is the usual preaching that it's a wonderful sunny Wednesday morning, the kind of day where we all should put on our working gloves and put our thinking caps on to go and make a difference in our lives, in the lives of those around us, and yes, ultimately, in the future of this country. So have a wonderful and productive day. But stay tuned to the program, because in this program we also show you in more ways than one how to make better yourself and by extension this nation. Good morning.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admired the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fiscal code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
how tugenda okwebaka ekiro yanga mwami omanyi webakeko nange omulundi gw'ogusembayo.
I went to the nursery and I asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive.
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombye ekiro lwaleero tasuzeewo lwe bakwokezza nga nze mpoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokezza.
Kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to.
kill another person. It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Filagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not. Blood? Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa abekika era bulala basigadde
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagenda mu lukoola eyo nakasongola mu buluuri twagenda mu butale babalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
nti mukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde palamenti buyise bosi basajja
omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo
tobeera mu ssuuti ate n'oteeka mu gganduula
olina kubeerako kimu
kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina nakulabira abaganda baagala kabaka
ekifo ekimu kissa wamusu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo embeera mw'okolera ebyobufuzi ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi ebyogerwa tebiyita tuusa eddoboozi lyo yogera naffe buli lwakuna butereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.
23 after 8. Thank you so much for staying with us. We're at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. Despite my condition, I walked up to here. It seems very far these days now. Huh? But I'm very happy to be back after 3 days of absence. And yeah, very excited, very excited. This morning on Everyday Life, we're going to be looking, it seems to be, you know, a combination of just partying. We have celebs in town, and we're also going to be talking fitness. If you've been doing the wrong exercises, well, we'll be looking at that. But before we get there, Graham Tugume this morning from Watoto Church. Good morning. I call you Musumba, though you refuse us to call you such things.
Good morning, Brian.
You ought to keep it Graham.
Yes.
GT. GT, yes, I like that. What exactly do you do at Watoto?
I am the creative director for Watoto Ministries, and I also pastor our creative arts department.
What exactly is that?
That is all the musicians, all the technicians, dance groups, drama groups, everything that is in the creative and performing arts. Right. I look after that.
There's it's like an infectious thing in town. You know, people tweeting, I am Watoto, the future is now, the big party.
Yes.
What is the big party?
Well, the big party is a special celebration that's going to be 1 week long. We're having a 1 week long party to commemorate our 30 years of existence as Watoto Ministries.
Watoto is 30 years?
Watoto is 30 years.
Wow.
Watoto started before even I was born. I'm going to be 30 this year, and Watoto is ahead of me by about 2 months.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Why 1 week?
We want to celebrate in a big way because we serve a big God. He has done so many awesome and wonderful things that there is no better expression than to do something grand, something with so much grandiose in it. That's why it's a week-long party. I've never been to a party that lasts 1 week. And we're going to do it 7 days, actually 8 days from Sunday to Sunday. We're going to be having one awesome time.
I've had the privilege of hearing and sharing the Watoto story, having, served with Watoto for about 5 years. But for the benefit of people who have never had this, quickly, just, make it brief. The story of Watoto. It's 30 years, but how did it all start?
Watoto Church started when our pastors, Gary and Marilyn Skinner, were called by God to plant an English-speaking church in the middle of Kampala. He said, if you are faithful, I'm going to do something in that church that the whole world's going to hear about. The point of Watoto Ministries is to bring healing to our city and to our nation. We love Kampala. Right. We love Uganda. And now we are getting to a place where that ministry is going to be replicating itself by the grace of God across Africa in many capital cities. And we will be extending the same love that we have been able to express here in Kampala to other capital cities. In a nutshell, Gary and Marilyn Skinner moved here in 1983 in the middle of the 5-year guerrilla war that brought our present government into power. It was absolute chaos. Everything was in disrepair. And we started on Easter Sunday, which was the 22nd of April 1984. Wow. At the Imperial Hotel in a room called the Crystal Suite. Those who tell the story say the hotel was neither imperial and the room was not sweet. It was run down from the war and neglect and just no ownership. But God was faithful to that small congregation of 75 people that came to the very first Watoto Church service. And over the years, He has kept increasing us to a place where we were looking for more and more room. So Gary had to go into town and look for a large auditorium, a large space where we could have church. And someone told him, have you considered the Norman Cinema? That's the building Watoto Church
where
right now
is now.
Watoto Church
it was
Central
a cinema hall.
Was a cinema hall owned by a rich Asian called Norman Godino, same guy that owns Buganda Road Primary School and many of the buildings on that street. On
Buganda Road.
Yes. Amin in 1978 had sent away all the Asians from Uganda. And so the owners of that building had also fled for their lives in the 90-day deadline. So the building was under the ownership of the army at the time, the Obote II army, and we asked to rent it for special meetings for 2 weeks.
Graham,
yes,
I want you to continue this story.
Yes.
But maybe people should just come and hear the whole story.
Why don't they come?
So I want you to pause it there.
Yes.
And let's go to the week. You said it's going to be a party of 1 week.
Yes.
Break it down.
We're going to start that party this Sunday in all our celebration points. 10 celebration points in all, including Gulu and Watoto Church Juba. We're going to be having an out-of-the-ordinary church service with a couple more specials, testimonies of what God has been doing in the lives of the people of Watoto Church. It's going to be a fantastic service. That is Sunday. Monday is going to be Pastor Gary and Aunt Marilyn's 40th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
40 years.
40 years of marriage.
It's incredible.
Amazing.
It's incredible. So we're going to have a special dinner for them, for friends and family, and we're just going to celebrate their marriage, but also celebrate marriage in general.
Yeah.
For whoever the guests will be at that event. On Tuesday, we're a small group church. Those small groups are called cells. They meet in communities, in people's homes, or in some offices here in the city. And it's members of Watoto Church who just meet on a weekly basis, in the middle of the week, to talk about the word that was discussed on Sunday, but also just be buddies and do life together.
Yeah.
They eat and they discuss, etc. So Tuesday is Martyrs' Day. It's a public holiday. We've asked all our cells to invite their neighbors and their community and throw a 30th birthday party for Watoto Church in the community.
That's Tuesday.
That is on Tuesday. So we have north of 2,500 of those cells, and so some of them are combining, so we might have over 1,000 birthday parties happening across this city.
That's awesome.
On Tuesday. On Wednesday, we're going to be out at Watoto Church West, Chengera, practicing and doing sound checks. We have guest artists coming in. We're going to have a fantastic time. So that's a rest day for the rest of the congregation, but everybody
will be working. You guys will be working.
We will be working.
I know something huge is happening on Thursday.
Yes, sir.
And I guess that's why you will not be resting.
No.
Tell us about this. It's probably the highlight of the whole week.
We have put together a creative production. Watoto Church has done this for many years at Christmas time, like the Christmas cantata that people in the city come to watch. We're gonna bring our best musicians and our best singers and our best dancers, everybody in the creative arts. And we're gonna put together a production that includes Watoto worship, includes the Watoto Children's Choir, includes the restore tour of former child soldiers from Gulu who have been restored to dignity. We're gonna have the Living Hope ladies there that were down and out, HIV positive women who now have a vocation, who have a hope, who have something to do. They're going to form this production, and we're going to tell the Watoto story in about an hour and a half. And after that, we have a special guest who has come to be with us just for this big party. He's a recording artist. He's a gospel musician. His name is Israel Houghton.
Wow.
And he's coming with New Breed and technical crew. It's going to be loud.
The full-on
thing. It's going to be loud. It's going to be great. It's going to absorb us.
Awesome.
That whole deal is going to take about 3 hours and a half. So we'll run it from 7:30 when we start the production, and we will close at 10 p.m.
Awesome. Yeah. I've heard that, you know, also the Uganda Cranes team will be playing against the Watoto soccer team. Okay, we shall go and just support.
It's a friendly match.
It's a friendly match.
It's a friendly
They're
match.
practicing for Madagascar, I think.
Yes.
Okay, maybe, I don't know, some of the Watoto kids will one day play in the national team.
Why not?
Fantastic, fantastic. Any last word for the people that are watching us now?
Everybody that is out there, I invite you in the strongest possible terms. Come to Watoto Church West, and let's have a fantastic party as we celebrate 30 years of God's faithfulness with Watoto Ministries.
Awesome.
There's going to be transportation, that's public transportation from Watoto Church Central, and it will start moving at 4 p.m. on Thursday. There will also be public transportation that we have organized for everybody coming back from that event when it closes at 10 into the city and into the suburbs.
Awesome.
It will cost approximately 5,000 shillings to go and come back.
Wow.
So it's 2.5 per route. Whatever you are doing that day, stop.
And go to Chengera.
And go to Chengera, Watoto Church West. It is half a kilometer from the Busega roundabout on your way to Masaka. It's just after the Busega swamp. But by the time you get to that roundabout, you will see presents, you will see ushers, you will see lights, you will see flags, banners, signs. You will not get lost. Come on out, let's have a good time.
Well, I'm privileged to be a part of Watoto Church, worked there, served there, still there, volunteering a lot in the media department. So I know when it comes to partying. I'm not just saying this because I belong to the church, no. I mean, I know what partying is, and Watoto does it right. Well, Uganda seems to be privileged this whole season, and now not just Israel Houghton visiting Watoto, but also we have a celebrated artist, Don Moen, also is going to be in town. Well, Morning at NTV, we'll be glad to catch up with him, but take a look at one of his songs, and when I come back, we're going to be talking fitness with a fitness instructor right here Morning at NTV. Good morning.
And God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me, and He will be my guide. Hold me closely to His side. With love and strength for each new day, He will make a way. will make a way. Oh, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide, hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. By a roadway in the wilderness, he'll lead me. And rivers in the desert will I see. Heaven and earth will fade, but his word will still remain. That's right. And he will do something new today. Oh, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide, hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. Yes, he will. He will make a way. Yes, he will.
A very good morning to you, and that is Don Moen, who is going to be in Uganda on the 1st and 2nd and the 3rd. And look out for those concerts. We'll be, of course, hosting some of the people that are organizing this very soon, and they'll be telling us some of the expectation. But earlier I had Graham Tugume, who was letting us know about Watoto Church's celebrations, and they're going to be celebrating about 30 years of ministry, 20 years of Watoto Child Care Ministries, and of course I know that they're also going to be celebrating 15 years of Power FM. So look out for those details, and of course Morning at NTV is very glad to be associating and working with Watoto Church. Now, a couple of your comments on Twitter before we get into our topic this morning. Some of the characters in the opposition are like porcupines. You can't hug them. And that is Norbert Mao, who was here with us saying that. If the president has doubts on the Electoral Commission, why should I trust it then? And all right, a couple of your comments from Prince MKN Muyende, and it says sometimes you need to close some doors, not because you're proud, but because they are leading you nowhere. All right, probably that Muyende submitting his proverb. We'll be looking at that later. All right, and our Morning at NTV is our Twitter handle, and of course Facebook is Morning at NTV. You can also send the text to 6565. This morning on Everyday Life, have you been doing the wrong exercises, or you haven't had time to exercise in the morning? Why? Because your schedule is fast and moving. This morning, we're going to help you do that. Some of the recommended exercises that you can do in the comfort of your home. Coming up on Everyday Life. Well, this morning, I call her Sweet 16, but I don't know.
That's because if you work out, you can actually stay 16, looking 16. Let's just say, yeah.
And okay, please, for the benefit of the viewers, your real name and what exactly you do. I know lots of stuff that you do.
Yes.
You're probably a jack of all trades, but what exactly?
I can try. I'm Catherine Nakawesa, and I'm from Viva Dance. I'm a Viva Dance instructor. Yes, and basically what we do in Viva is we help you to get fit, but you also have fun while you do this.
Right.
Yes.
I think for the benefit, having fun is my middle name.
Exactly.
So let me just relinquish some of this stuff, and I'll ask these guys to take these phones because I need to have fun. I need to have fun on the show. All right. First, Viva, you dance, right?
Yes. We work out and we dance. And basically what we're telling you is, we know it's tough to be going to the gym and to keep up the whole regime, but if you combine your fitness regime with something that's fun, something like dance, which we all do, we grew up doing this, then it's so much easier to follow up. Okay. Yeah. And if you're going to do your workout, basically the things you need to know is you take your body in phases. Yeah. You don't just quickly get up and kick your legs up. Whoa. No, Brian, don't try that. don't try that just yet. No, you take your body in phases. Right. So in Viva Dance, what we'll do is, and we're going to do a little sample of that. Yeah. Okay.
So can we just do that now?
Yeah.
You know, like
you start with a little, just a little warm up for your body.
Let's get some music. Yeah? I think up in this place. You know, like let's just wing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just wing it to a beat or something.
Well, let's sort out the music.
Yeah.
Basically, what you want to do is just warm up your body first before you get into any hectic, ambitious workouts. Yeah, and you can just start by pulsing.
This is easy.
Yeah, yeah. You can lose the jacket, lose the tie. You know, like. Yeah, or just in the morning, if you don't have a lot of time before you put on anything, you just, before you put on your ties and suits, you just pulse, bend those knees.
You have to bend the knees.
Bend the knees, and then as you get a bit warm, lift the knees up, like that, the right and then the left.
I hope I don't lose my spinal cord.
Yeah, and we're just getting to that. Actually, what they say is you're as old as your spinal cord, yeah? You're as old as your back, and you want to go easy on it. So now, as you lift the knees, then you start to pulse the chest, yeah? Yeah. Very,
Pump it up,
you really, exactly. You're doing very well, yeah? And what this is doing is it's warming up the legs. It's also getting your heart rate up a little bit.
Right.
And with every part of the body that you get moving, the heart works a bit more. And we all know that the heart is the source of life, right?
All right.
If your heart is pumping, then you're alive. And so now let's get it working a bit more. And you add the hands, yeah? Like that. Yeah?
All right.
And keep the chest moving.
Does Isma do this? I don't know.
And now let's try and kick out like that, like that. Like that, like that. And now can we shake it a bit faster? Like pump, 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 pump.
I don't know if I'm in a good healthy condition to be doing this, but my doctor will advise.
I think your doctor will tell you this is still very safe, yeah? And now just take the pace up a little bit. You can just imagine that you're jogging, you're on the track. Or imagine that you're looking at a goal, like you're thinking about where you're going.
In the morning.
In the morning, yeah, very easy.
Even in your office, right?
Even in your office, yeah. You can even round up everybody. And we do this sometimes. We like to do this in people's offices. If you can't get yourself going, you get us to get you going, yeah? And you bring those knees up a bit.
My legs can't go up. And so,
really?
I have a medical condition. Let's go on.
But basically, that's the idea, that you take your body through the phases, a simple warm-up, like we did, and then you just keep adding different body parts. And it helps if you have some music.
Just so that you're just going to the beat.
Yes, you're going to the beat, and you move to that, yes.
So are there any simple exercises that I can do in the morning? You know, for example, wake up, I leave my house at 4 a.m. to come do this.
Yes.
What can I do? Before, the moment I get out of bed, recommend a few exercises that we can do.
The moment you get out of bed, switch on that music first of all. It will wake you up. Start with a little bit of dancing like we did. And if you have just 10 minutes, use your 3 minutes to warm up. And then you use the next 3 minutes to go even faster. You can do jumps, for instance. Jumps, things that get you just waking up and going, and you can use more arms.
Oh, as you let your body loose.
Yes, as you let your body loose, you keep going. You keep going faster, and then As you finish your workout, you need to stretch. Your muscles have worked, and you need to allow them to release all those toxins and to relax. Yeah, because you don't want to go to work like that. Yeah. So you can do. Can I take you through a simple stretch?
Why not? Why not?
Just bend your knees, and you'll feel that right behind your calves. The calves are just like at the back of your legs. Bend your knees, and you can bring your hands up, and you breathe in. Brian, I need to hear you breathing. If you're not breathing, you're going to fall over, and that is not good for NTV, and it's not good for Viva Dance either. Yeah, you got there before me. And you can just lean back a bit, just a little bit. This will not break your back, just a little. And then you can come forward.
I can't really do some of this stuff because I've just been in hospital, so yeah. You'll excuse me.
Okay, but you're doing very well so far.
All right.
How does that
Push the
feel?
bum out.
Yeah, and just stretch those hands forward as if you're trying to reach out.
Spirit fingers.
Yeah. And then you can now try and touch your toes.
Whoa!
How does that feel, Brian? Tell me. Talk to me, Brian. How does that feel?
I can't go down.
Do you feel anything at the
My
back of your
doctor is
legs?
watching this, so he's going to kill me. All right.
Yes. So you do simple
So you finish
stretches.
stretching.
You start with a warm-up. You kick up the tempo to do a little bit of cardio, and then you stretch.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. Beautiful.
Is that helpful?
Sweet 16.
Thank
I want
you.
to join the Viva Dance. How do I do that?
Well, basically, you can call us on 0703 579 787 because what we do is we come to you. So if you have a company and you have your team of employees and you want them to be active and ready and just, you know, people thinking on their feet, you can call us. You can organize a session at your office or a place of your convenience, and we will do a Viva Dance session for you. We can also come to schools if you have children. We come to schools and we take them through this.
Right.
Yes. Any organization, we basically come to you.
Beautiful. Well, the levels of diabetes increasing every day. And of course, we want to help you work this. Every morning at 5:30 a.m. we have what we call a Fit and Fab segment. It's about 30 minutes. Wake up and get your body, you know, active. Otherwise, look at this girl. She's sweet 16. Dakaba, first come and because I want you to do some of this stuff. This guy is a sports journalist, but he has never played any game.
I don't have talent, but I'm obsessed with workout, by the way.
Yes. What kind of workouts do you do?
I used to work out with a team of people who would run up the Kololo Hill every other day. Then I joined a workout with the rugby team. The consequences, I ended up in bed for 2 weeks. One of the reasons why I was at work in the strain on my body, I think.
Yeah, because you need to get your body ready before you do anything.
And I think I had a plan for it, but eventually everything just dawned on me and I wanted to do it so fast, and then eventually it wasn't the best way to go about it. But this is soft. Some of the things we're doing are amazing. My back would hurt.
Oh, did you try them? Should we get him to try the bend?
Just get him for like a minute. Let him
just try and touch your toes.
Would I get
your toes.
You have them together?
Yeah, you can have them together, yes.
Whoa! Take a look at this.
I don't work out well.
I do work out quite a bit.
Very good.
Not lately, but because ever since I was sick, I've had to take a bit of a break from working out. But I really love working out. And I had Brian say something about diabetes. Last time I was watching a story on Al Jazeera just the other week. Over 500 million people in the world have diabetes.
Right.
Oh, no.
500 million. You know, stats in science can be exaggerated most of the time. But I see so many obese kids. And actually this reminds me of something that I see parents who take their children to all these schools and buy them all this chocolate. The parents are running and working out in all these Kampala suburbs every evening or morning. But then their children are obese.
Their kids are at home watching TV.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, these are the same parents. They are working out on their bodies. They are leaving their kids to go obese.
Yeah. And that's why with Viva Dance, what we're doing is we're going into schools actually.
To help kids.
Yeah. And it's something we've introduced in a couple of schools already. So we get the kids out during their club time in the afternoon and they come and just work out and dance.
I know, really.
They feel that they're dancing, but really in the end they're sweating and they've worked out and they're stronger and fitter.
Well, you know what? I'm going to call you back and we really do like a real session of Viva dance
Anytime,
and
Brian,
get
anytime.
sweating all on the show. Like probably a Friday where I wouldn't care going to the office in jeans. So I will organize that. Isma.
And can I just say this? You can find us on Facebook as well.
Viva Dance.
Yeah, so don't go running around the street looking for me. No, no, no. Just go to Viva Dance Uganda on Facebook.
And we'll get you.
Yes, we'll find us.
Isma, apart from going down, you know, and touching your toes, I know you are fully equipped with the sports. What do we have this morning?
We are going to talk about real sportsmen who are fit, including Russell Westbrook, 40 points this morning as the Oklahoma City Thunder beat up on the San Antonio Spurs. We also talk about a very fit sportsman, that is Yaya Toure, as he's trying to engineer a move to PSG.
Wow.
And several other fit sportsmen, including Deja University Angels and the Uganda Cranes.
Right. Well, we'll be talking sport. I can't wait to hear about Yaya Toure because it sounds like a girl, man. It sounds like a girl. But stay with us. We'll be back after these messages.
I'm Don Moen, and I'm really excited that God has made a way for me to come to Uganda through Advercom Media and CMC Productions. I'll be having my good friend Lenny LeBlanc. First will be a VIP concert at the Victoria Hall at the Serena Hotel. On the 2nd of June, general concert open to the public at Makerere University Ground. And on the 3rd of June, a worship seminar at Miracle Center Cathedral. Get your tickets early. It's going to be a great 3 days of worship. See you real soon.
I will pray, lift my hands to honor.
Oda, I no go stop to the singing.
No problem. Keep singing. This singing will put you in trouble very soon. You won't believe it's the boy's father that inflicted such injury on him. Just because he stole 50 naira. 50 naira for that matter. That man should be arrested. Oh, how God. How I wish I could just see that man and give him a piece of money. Abigail, I don't care if you're chatting with Barack Obama. When you're at work, you learn how to detach yourself from that phone else to get you into trouble. Whatever. I mean, you should be happy that a pilot is asking your friend out.
My brother, I learned that 3 armed robbers tried to rob a man as he came out of the bank at the junction before the express.
Don't try to be the hero.
You won't kill me.
Do you know how long I've been waking you up quietly and you refuse to wake?
Now you can't interrupt someone.
I like to pray with you, nurses, being the vessels that the Almighty God has been using to heal His people.
Okay. Can someone please talk to me? What is going on?
Who is she?
See, I hate cheating in my life. I hate cheating and nothing will make me have 50 kobo to that money I already get you.
This is New Close-Up Deep Action. We created it to give the world 3 times fresher breath and eliminate up to 99% of germs. Maybe we went too far. There's an outbreak of freshness.
So celebrate, turn up the volume, jubilate. We really love.
Now the best ever from Close-Up. 3 times fresher breath.
I'm gonna blow your mind and I'm gonna twist your taste buds. The flavors are already coming together. I can feel them. Very lovely, very appetizing, very healthy. Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen. It's 9 on to 9, and this morning we've had lots of action on this show, and it feels good to be back. Feels the rooftop. The house is rather very, limiting. Now I believe I can't stay at home.
Yeah.
I really can't.
I used to be like that, and I remember my mom would tell me, "Nti olinge mbwago yakomba mbigere," because you always wanted to leave every time the sun came out.
Right.
Yeah, because you didn't have anything to do at the time. But
Yeah.
but it can be limiting. And the few times I stay home and take a breather, I could tell you are not very good.
Really?
Not very good. Even the television that I love so much sometimes isn't sufficient to keep me company.
Yeah, I had lots of movies but couldn't even get to watch them. Well, very glad to be back talking real sport. The club country row has gone on not just in Uganda, but all over the world. Coaches are complaining all the time. But specifically for Uganda, Mitchell is faced with Mwesigwa and Oloya. Will he overcome this?
I think it's about how much time they love these players to work with the team before that game on Saturday against Madagascar. Moses Oloya is looking extremely unlikely to make it from Vietnam, but if he does, he will come here and then testing the fitness levels and all those things. May take a bit of time. Then for Ande Mwesigwa, his club Odabasa in Kazakhstan do have a match later today, and that would mean the only time Mwesigwa would be able to join the team, the Uganda Cranes captain, will be on Friday morning. Now, I think the bigger problem there is for Mitchell to see if he can fit Mwesigwa into the team. It's not a new player.
So
if this was
Friday morning,
and
they late to
exactly
with all the players.
And I think Mitchell is starting to debate whether Mwesigwa shouldn't play in the game. Even if he came to Uganda, probably would be only a cheerleader like many of us. Because yesterday, he used his 4 defenders in training. He had to partner Isaac Isin and Richard Kasaga, and also Henry Kalunji and Savio Kabugo, just to try out those 4 and see which partnership would work between the 4 of them. And if that materializes, I think by end of today, he'll have developed enough confidence not to call Andy Mwesigwa and force him to come here. Or if he only came, he would only be a cheerleader. I've seen Ibrahim Sekaja come here to cheer the team. For example, in the game when Uganda beat Guinea-Bissau by 2-0, he was actually suspended. And he spent a few days in the camp with the team and also was on the bench on match day. And such things do work. So it's an extremely unfortunate situation, especially knowing that this game comes up at a time outside the FIFA calendar. And I've said this repeatedly that CAF made a big mistake of organizing these fixtures outside the FIFA calendar. So clubs are not obliged to give you their players.
Yeah.
The allegiance most of the time is first to the club, then to their countries. Now that's the kind of thing that Mitchell is facing. But I think at this point I'm one of those who's made up my mind, not because Mwesigwa is a bad player, not because Mwesigwa wouldn't help the team, but I think it would be asking too much for him to come here with all the issues about jet lag and his fitness, like he's been playing, then you push him into the fixture on Saturday. But then there are precedents also to guide us that in such cases, there are players who have come here very late and done the business. I remember way back when Uganda beat Niger at home here by 3-0. David Obua barely trained with the team. He actually arrived on Thursday night when the game was on Saturday. And what does Obua do on Saturday? He scored a hat-trick. Right. 2 days later. So there's that balancing act that Mitch has to fulfill. But Obua's case is different. And Mwesigwa's will also be different, especially because their styles are different on the pitch. Mwesigwa is a lot more physical and that kind of thing. And when you're a defender, your mistakes are punished with a goal. When a striker, you could even miss 5 chances and score once and the game ends 0-0. So it's a tough balancing act for Mitchell. But if I was in this situation, just drop him. Yeah, drop him.
Wow. Let's see what decision he'll make. Yesterday I watched the show from home. Did you just jinx Lina?
I actually tried not to jinx her until Mabel brought up the name that Lina would be one of the competitors, because I had gone for Serena Williams and Maria Sharapova, the 2 front runners. Now yesterday, Lina committed 35 unforced errors as she was knocked out of the French Open in the first round. A former champion in Paris, a win of the Australian Open earlier this year. But for me, this goes back to tell us about the unpredictability of the French Open, because the past 5 winners of this tournament have been new. They have been totally different from Serena Williams last year. That was the first time Serena had won at Roland Garros in 11 years, because she had last won in 2002. There's been Francesca Schiavoni, there's been Lina herself. So it's the most unpredictable tournament. So when this kind of results come up, I'm not that staggered. Maybe for the men I will be, because Rafael Nadal has won 8 tournaments at Roland Garros, of course failing to win once back in 2009 when he lost Robin Soderling in the quarterfinals. But it's been a procession, I think, for Rafael Nadal largely, and for the women it's been swinging here and there. So I was taken aback a bit when Lina was knocked out. I thought she would go and compete, and I'd actually ignored it because I don't think she's played enough of clay court tennis before coming to Roland Garros. I've seen all the other players, Serena Williams and Sharapova, who I'm tipping to go at least until the final. Sharapova, the Russian girl there. I saw her play in Stuttgart and Madrid, and she played very, very well. And I thought Lina's game on clay wasn't on yesterday. Andy Murray, what happened? Yesterday, he won his first round game in 4 sets against Dmitry Golubov from Romania. A tough game for Andy Murray, especially with the events of what has happened to him since last year, the back injury. Got off to a very quick start, then staggered a bit in the second set because at that point, and this is a point where I thought Andy Murray won it. In the 8th game, Golubov broke Andy Murray to tie the game at 4-all. Then Andy Murray broke back immediately to go 5 and then 6-4 to win the set. And I thought that was a turning point, the kind of things you want to expect from Andy Murray. Eventually, Golubov fighting back and winning the third set 6-3. But Andy Murray at the time was leading by 2 sets to 1. And not many players will beat Andy Murray when he's leading, when he's taken the first 2 sets. Eventually, he got through. And that should be good for the tournament because you want Murray there, you want Djokovic in there, you want Rafael Nadal in the tournament when the quarterfinals do come up next week.
Right. I can't wait to see that. OKC played San Antonio Spurs in game 4 this morning. Yeah. Of course, I didn't watch the game. But I know you watched it. How did it go?
Because the games do happen at what someone told me are ungodly hours.
Yeah.
But in my religion, always wake up and pray at around that time, 3 a.m. because sometimes it's good to pray at that time. But Oklahoma City Thunder, just not too long ago, there were 2 games down. They've now won 2 in a row, and that game is tied at 2-all. And this morning, Russell Westbrook scoring 40 points and 10 assists, while the MVP, Kevin Durant, scored 31, as they beat up on the San Antonio Spurs 102-95, which means with the series now, after 2 games in OKC, they are now at 2-all as they move out to the San Antonio Spurs. And everything that the Spurs did well in the first 2 games is gone. Just the impact of Serge Ibaka returning from injury has stuck as the Spurs have fallen off the rail, and they look like 2012, because back in 2012 Spurs were playing OKC in the Western Conference Finals and Spurs won the first 2 games. OKC came back and won 4 in a row to advance to the finals. Will that happen this year? Maybe not. But in the last 2 games I've seen signs of weaknesses for the Spurs, who I call a machine. They play basketball that is like a machine. They never look like they're hurting, but they have that efficiency that sometimes you can't put a finger to.
Well, I want to quickly comment on this, and I know, times of the essence, but what Brian Tuka would call is absolute rubbish. Yaya Toure, what is it doing?
When this story first came up, I remember we discussed it on this show a few weeks ago when he said, when the thing about his birthday, and it seemed like it was about the birthday. Now I think it's not about the birthday, because on Monday night, Yaya Toure gave an interview where he said he was talking about PSG. He's actually giving a come get me call to Paris Saint-Germain, where he said that no footballer in Europe wouldn't want to get involved with the PSG project. He seems like he wants to go to Paris. Now, this is absolute madness from Yaya Toure. Because, okay, there could be things that he's won everything at Man City, 2 league titles in 3 years, he's won the FA Cup, he's won the Capital One Cup, and there's nothing more to achieve. And we've always known about his desire to go and play his football at Barcelona. But how he swings from this not being about the money at Man City, and it's about the kind of respect that the owners give him, to him praising what PSG are doing. And this is what players do all the time in their engineering transfers. He'll come out and say, I love Arsene Wenger, I love the project at Arsenal, or I love Chelsea, I know where they're going. That's what exactly Yaya Toure is doing. But if I think in the last weeks he's sunk to so many lows.
Yeah.
This is as a low point as he's sunk, because I don't, and this for me it makes clubs look stupid when players sign these lengthy contracts, because they're supposed to be allegiance to clubs. When Yaya Toure signed a contract back in December to stay with Man City, I think until 2018, for a lot of money. I think it's reported about £260,000 a week. Okay, would earn more at PSG, but now for me it's about the money. It's about the money. It's no longer respect, because it's moved from Barcelona, it's moved from the respect that the club owners are giving him, to loving what PSG are doing.
It's absolute greed now. That's for me what I call it. It's total disgrace.
And being an Arsenal fan.
It's just annoying. But Isma will be on Mumuli at 1:30 p.m. with Lumansi and Alan. You can look at that point at a comprehensive look at Yaya's behavior, and probably why these people think Africans we are you'll tell us.
But this is done by everyone.
Before
Everyone
we
loves
go,
money.
speaking of Africans, here is your African proverb. The stomach is what is on the head.
Sure. Is that the proverb?
Who sends these African proverbs?
What?
What is in the stomach is what is on the head.
Sure. Is it about carrying, being able to carry food on your head? What is in the stomach is what is in the head. On the head or in the head?
I guess on the head.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.